All right, guys, we are going to follow kind of the same routine as we did on Monday. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the morning meeting for you guys, and then we'll go back to morning leaders tomorrow. For today and yesterday, I really want you guys to focus on listening to the lessons because tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, all I'm really going to be doing is allowing you guys time to do your work. You guys are going to make sure you've completed all of your tests, your grammar, your comprehension, and your narrative writing. Your narrative writing is going to take a very long time tomorrow, and a lot of you guys are probably going to have questions. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we are going to devote the next 3 days after today to understanding and making sure that we completed every assignment incorrectly. All right, so that means that there's going to be some of you I'm going to be working with a lot. I'm going to be explaining the directions a lot. So it's going to be a lot easier for everyone, including yourself, if you guys make sure you guys watch these YouTube videos and make sure you're following along and doing the work as I'm going through it. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our morning meeting first. So today is October 5th. The date is October 5th, 2021. Yesterday was Monday. Today is Tuesday, and tomorrow will be Wednesday. We have been in school for 31 days. We are going to start a new tense chart. We filled up 3 of them, so we're at 30. We're going to start filling this one up, and once we fill it up, we'll be at 40, but right now we only have 1 in there, so it's 31. Oops. Oh no. All right. The weather today, I would say it's like cloudy. All right, let's go ahead and do our pledge. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the Peace Builders Pledge. I am a peace builder. I pledge to praise people, to give up put downs, to seek wise people, to notice and speak up about hurts I have caused, to right wrongs, to help others. I will build peace at home, at school, and in my community each day. And today is October 5th, which means that it is Ray's birthday. So probably at the beginning of this class time, we'll have already met in Zoom, and we'll hopefully have had a Kahoot and a Go Noodle set. If we don't do it today, we will definitely do it tomorrow for you, Ray. But happy birthday. And we'll make sure we do our birthday song. All right, we are in Take Charge Tuesday, and we are going to watch our next dojo video.
Chapter 4. The Mysterious World of Neurons. Mojo arrived at school one day to find a happy surprise. His new device had finally arrived. But just as he was about to turn it on, Katie showed up. Mojo, what are you doing? Becoming a genius, said Mojo. How is that thing going to make you a genius? Said Katie. It's going to make my brain grow by zapping it with electricity. I thought that was obvious. Mojo, I think it's time for you to find out how your brain really works, said Katie. It's time to visit Miss Clara. Now, Miss Clara was a most curious character. Not long ago, she was a world-renowned neuroscientist, but her discoveries had inspired her to try a new challenge. And that's how she became an art and drama teacher. Miss Clara's classroom was in an expansion trailer far away from the main campus. Katie and Mojo made the long climb up the hill and found Miss Clara meditating in her garden. Katie, Mojo, I've been expecting you, said Miss Clara. Katie says you know how our brains work, said Mojo. Well, even scientists like me don't understand exactly how our brains work, said Miss Clara. But we do know a little. We know that your brain is made of tiny bits called neurons. Now, when these neurons connect, they send electrical signals back and forth to talk to each other. Everything you can do, from reading to riding a bike, only happens because your neurons connect. Now, here's the really fascinating thing. You have the power to change how your neurons are wired together and learn how to do things you never thought you could do. How? Asked Mojo. There is only one way, said Miss Clara, leaning closer. Learn challenging things. Mojo was fascinated. He turned to Katie. Katie, we're going after the biggest challenge you can imagine.
All right, so that was our Mojo video for today, and I believe there's just one more in our mindfulness chapter or a series, and then we'll start another one after this. All right, guys. Now we do have a long day again for ELA. We are going to be going over your narrative writing test. All right. Now, the first thing you guys are going to do before we even do that is you are going to take your comprehension test in ConnectEd. So what you guys are going to do is you're going to log into ConnectEd. And the way you guys will log into it is you guys are going to go to Google Classroom, click on your waffle, and then scroll all the way down till you get to McGraw-Hill. Remember, I don't have mine up here, but yours will be around this area, and it's going to say McGraw-Hill Education. Once you guys get into ConnectEd, you're going to click on your Wonders website. You're going to click on To Do, which is on the left top hand corner, and it's going to be a green button with a little check mark and a paper. And when you click on it or hover over it, it's going to say To Do.
To do.
Then you're going to click on My Tests. And then I'm not going to have it, but yours is going to be there. And then yours is going to say Jam Day. So what I want you guys to do right now is pause the YouTube video, pause this video, and take your test first. Okay. After you take your comprehension test, then you can come back and then rewatch this or continue to watch this to do your narrative writing. All right. Once you guys have taken your test, make sure you guys click close, see your score, see what questions you guys got right, which ones you got wrong. Maybe try and figure out why you got the questions you got wrong. And then after you guys do that, what we're going to now do is we're going to work on your narrative writing test. Now, just like you guys did for yesterday, you're going to watch this video and you're going to read and review. You're going to follow along with your own copy, and your own copy actually is not going to be anywhere else other than in your classwork. So if you want to do it online in Kami, you can. If you want to do it on paper and pencil, you're going to have to print it out. All right. So you're not going to find it in any of your other books that you have at home. So you're going to go to classwork. So if you go to Miss Park's Google Classroom, make sure you always update the stream so you can see. You'll see it over here in the stream, or you can go to classwork if you can't find it. Scroll to ELA, and it's going to be the first link you see here, which is Unit 1 Narrative Writing Test. Open that up, and then you're going to see your narrative writing right here. Then open it with Kami. Here are the instructions. You can also just open it up and print it if you want to do it paper and pencil. All right. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So if you need more time to open it up, because you do need to follow along. So if you need more time to open it up, then pause the video and make sure you do that. All right. Your class has been learning about how families and friends learn, grow, and help one another. Now your class is going to make a book to share what they have learned. Each student will write something for the book. Before you decide what you will write about, you will read 2 passages or sources that provide information about how people and animals help each other. After you have looked at these passages or sources, you will answer some questions about them. Look at the passages and 3 questions that follow. Then go back and read the passages carefully. They will give you the information you will need to answer the questions and write a narrative or story for the class book. So you guys are going to be writing a story. In part 2, you'll write your story using information from the 2 passages. Now that's very important. So I'm going to go to markup. I'm going to go to freehand highlighter, and then I'm going to highlight that. You will write your story using information from the 2 passages. And I'm going to be reading you guys the 2 passages today. You will now look at 2 passages or sources. You can look at either of the passages as often as you like. After looking at the passages, use the rest of the time in part 1 to answer 3 questions about them. Your answers will not be scored. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my drawing tool, and I'm going to cross this out. Your answers will not be scored because I'm going to go over the answers with you guys in class. The only thing I'm scoring is going to be your writing. It's going to be the writing that you guys do, and I'm going to show you guys that right now. Or not right now, but at the end. Also, your answers will help you think about the information you have read, which should help you write your story. You may look at the passages or sources when you think it would be helpful. You may also look at your notes. So if you haven't highlighted and crossed that out, make sure you guys do so now. Source number 1. So this is the first source we're going to read. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight different things that show us how families and friends learn, grow, and help one another. All right. Service dogs. What do service dogs do? Service dogs help people live good lives. Okay, so we're going to be learning about how service dogs helps people. And we're going to figure out how they do that. I'm going to click on markup and I'm going to start highlighting. They can open doors for people who need help. Okay, so service dogs, that's what we're learning about. They can open doors. They can warn people who cannot hear sirens. Okay, so they warn people who cannot hear sirens. So maybe they're deaf and maybe like they're about to cross the street. And even though maybe like it says like this, the crosswalk says it's safe to go, maybe there's a police car coming and it's trying to go, protect someone who's in danger or get to someone who needs help. And then the dogs can hear that and it can make sure that their owners don't run into the street or walk into the street when there's danger coming. They can also help people walk. Their service dogs and their owners are a team. Their owners love them and they love their owners. How do dogs learn how to help people? Service dogs need teachers just like people do. Trainers teach the dogs to stay calm. They teach the dogs how to look and listen for danger. They teach the dogs how to help their owners. When do service dogs start working? Service dogs are trained for 6 months. Their new owners also must learn how to work with them. Then the dogs start helping their owners. Dogs are true loving friends. They work hard. They are smart. Dogs can keep people from being hurt. Okay, so that's another thing that a dog can do, can help people from being hurt. They can help people get around safely. Okay, and that's kind of like what we talked about earlier. They become part of their owners' families. Their owners can do more things because of them. So this source, we learned all about service dogs. And so what did we learn and how they can help people? They help warn people of sirens. They help people walk. They help people from getting hurt. Now we're going to learn about helping each other. There are lots of animals that help people. Service animals help people stay safe and get around. Oh, here we go again. We have our service animals and how they help people stay safe and get around. Police dogs can help find lost people. Okay, so here's another way that service dogs can help. Police dogs help find people. They can also sniff out danger. Sometimes if there might be something that is toxic or poisonous, they can help find those things so that people don't get hurt by them. Before there were cars, horses used to help people get around. Okay, so horses also help people get around, and house pets help keep people from feeling lonely. So house pets help people from feeling lonely. So I did highlight a lot of things, but there's a lot of ways that animals can help us. What do people do for animals? Some people like Eve Furtick do a lot. When Eve was young, her father took in stray animals. He took care of hurt animals and found homes for them. Ooh, so this is how we can help animals. He took care of them when they were hurt and found homes for them. And Eve helped him. When she grew up, she remembered that the animals her father had helped. She decided to help animals too. Now, Eve takes care of any animal that needs help. She even takes care of wild animals. Eve has another job too. She teaches people how to take care of hurt animals. Eve hopes that some of these people will continue her work. Has Eve ever been helped by an animal? Yes, she has. She and her husband adopted a dog named Shauna. One evening, they were outside and got caught in a storm. Trees fell. They were trapped. Shauna dug a tunnel and rescued them. Ooh. So one time they were trapped and their dog Shauna dug a tunnel and rescued them. When they got home, they had no power. So maybe it was really cold. And so they couldn't turn on their heater. So instead, Shauna, their dog, kept them warm all night, but cuddling next to them. If you need more time to highlight, you guys can pause the video and find those things that I highlighted and do that in your on your paper or on camera. Now we're going to answer these 3 questions. Pick 2 choices that show details found in both service dogs and helping each other. So, did we learn that dogs can dig tunnels? So, we can see in source number 2, it does talk about dogs being able to dig a tunnel. Shauna does that, but we didn't read about dogs being able to dig tunnels in source number 1. So because it was only in one source, it's not going to talk about both. We need to find a detail that's in both. So digging tunnels is not one. Dogs can keep people safe. Well, let's see. Here, yes, they sniff out danger. They help people stay safe. So it is in source number 2. Let's see in source number 1. They can warn people who cannot hear sirens. They help people walk. Dogs can keep people from being hurt. They can help. Ooh, look at this. I'm just going to underline it. They can help people get around safely. So does it talk about it in source number 1 and source number 2? Stay safe. Yes. So I believe it's B, but now let's look. We have to choose 2 choices. So let's go ahead and find the next one. C, dogs can find lost people. Well, let's see. We know that dogs can find lost people here. We see that police dogs can find lost people, but we don't see anyone being lost and any dogs finding them here. Service dogs are, they're mostly for people who cannot hear, who cannot see, maybe people who need help getting places safely, but it's not necessarily it doesn't talk about people who are lost and they're like looking for them. So it's not going to be C. D, dogs can live in the wild. I don't remember hearing about dogs living in the wild in either of them. And then dogs can be part of a family. Yes. What's it called? Shauna is a part of Eve's family. And then here, they become part of their owners' families. So it talks about it in both. They adopted a dog. And when you adopt a dog, you invite that dog into your family. So I think that E is a good answer. And the directions tell us to pick 2 choices. So it must be B and E. If you need more time or if you needed to have that explained again, you can rewatch this portion of the video. Number 2, tell 2 different ways that animals help people. Give 1 example from each source. Be sure to give the title of the article for each example. So let's look at source number 1 first, okay? So how can animals help people? We're going to give 2 different ways that animals help people. One from source 1, one from source 2. So from source number 1, we learned that service dogs can help people walk. They can open doors. They can warn people who cannot hear sirens. Dogs can keep people from being hurt. So what I'm going to write is, I'm going to click on the T for text box, and I'm going to write in source number 1. And then source number 1, I'm also going to put the title, which is service dogs. Be sure to give the title of the article for each example. So I'm going to write the title in source number 1, service dogs. And normally when we write a title for something, we do underline. And the way that I underlined right now was I just clicked on the word and I dragged, and then I pressed Command U. I think on a Chromebook, it might be like Control U or something. And that's going to give you guys the underline feature. What else you can do is you can just use the drawing feature and just underline it. So in source number 1, service dogs animals can help people walk safely when they cannot see. So that was one example. And then we need to give another example from the other source. Now, I'm not indenting because this is not a paragraph. I'm just going to write 2 sentences. So there's my first. My second is in source number 2, comma, and then I'm going to write the title, helping each other. And then again, I'm going to click, drag, command U, comma, oops. And then I'm going to go to the next line. So in source number 1, service dogs, animals can help people walk safely when they cannot see. In source number 2, helping each other, what did we learn about animals here? Ooh, police dogs can help find lost people. I learned, oops, and I don't want to underline this anymore, so I'm going to go command U again, and we'll stop from underlining. I learned that police dogs help find lost people. Now, there are so many other examples. You could talk about how service dogs can open doors. You could talk about how horses get people from one place to another. You can talk about how dogs can save you when you're trapped by digging a tunnel. You can talk about how police dogs can sniff out danger. You can talk about how house pets keep people from feeling lonely. But it only says here to give 2 different ways that animals help people by giving, and it's supposed to be 1 from each source. So I used 1 from source number 1, and I also used 1 from source number 2. Now I'm going to move on to question number 3. But if you're not done writing this, or if you want to write more, if you want to add more to that, you're more than welcome to. Source number 3, service dogs and helping each other tell how people and animals help each other. Why is this idea important? Use 1 example from each source in your answer. Be sure to give the title of the article for each example. So let's look at the first source and look at how people and animals help each other. So we know that in source number 1, that service dogs help us by getting us to places safely. But how do we help them? Dogs are true loving friends. They work hard. They are smart. They can help people get around safely. They become part of their owners' families. Their owners can do more things because of them. And then what else do owners do? Their owners love them and they love their owners. And then, trainers teach the dogs to stay calm. So lots of different examples. So in source number 1, service dogs. And then here it's giving you the title, but instead of underlining it, it puts it in quotation marks. So we've learned so far that quotation marks is when someone directly says something. You can also use quotation marks for titles. So instead of underlining, I'm going to use quotation marks. You could use either or. They're the same thing in this way. So in source number 1, service dogs, comma, service dogs help people get around safely, and people invite the service dogs into their family and show them lots of love. So in source number 1, service dogs help people get around safely, and people invite the service dogs into their family and show them lots of love. So that's how animals and people help each other. The animals are helping the people stay safe, and the people are helping the animals by showing them love and bringing them into their family, taking care of them, maybe feeding them, making sure they get exercise. Why is this idea important? We'll answer that at the end. So use 1 example from each source in your answer. Be sure to give the title of the article. So let's go ahead and do our next one before we answer why it's important. In source number 2, All right, so in source number 2, helping each other, we learned about Eve and Shauna. And so Eve helped Shauna by adopting her, and then Shauna helped Eve by rescuing her in a storm. So in source number 2, helping each other, Eve adopted Shauna, and Shauna rescued Eve from a storm. Now, why is this idea important? This idea is important because they were able to help keep each other safe. So, people and animals keep each other safe and happy. And happiness is important. It's important that we feel happy and we feel loved and special because it's a part of our social emotional health. And the happier we are, then the better we do in life as well. And that's why animals are important to us. If you guys want to write something a little bit different, you totally can. Here's a sample of what another student wrote. Animals and people can help each other in different and important ways. Service dogs in source number 1 tells us how dogs can become part of a family. A dog can help the family members and the family cares for and feeds the dog. In source number 2, helping each other, it tells us more about how people and animals help each other. Eve Furtick helps animals and she teaches others how to do it. 2, she teaches others how to do it too. Her own dog, Shauna, even dug a hole to rescue Eve during a storm. All right. So then those were your 3 questions that we worked on together. Now, these 3 questions are going to help you guys with your writing performance task, which you guys are going to work on tomorrow. Okay. It's not going to be up in Connect Ed until tomorrow. So let's just go over the rules and the instructions, and then we'll maybe do like a sample in class, and then you guys are going to write one tomorrow. I recommend making sure you guys have like maybe a piece of paper so you guys can write a rough draft on a piece of paper, and then you can transfer that over online. All right. So you will now look at your sources. You will take notes, then you will plan, draft, revise, and edit your story for the class book. Now, when we say plan, draft, revise, and edit, on Fridays, we have the rough draft of a paragraph that you guys make better by revising and editing it. That's what you're going to be doing with your own writing. Not only are you guys going to be writing me 1 or 2 paragraphs and turning it in, you need to be watching what you write, fixing errors that you see, whether it be spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, and then also adding to it so that your story is more interesting, so that you're adding all of the important components of a good 2nd grade writing. Okay. First, read your assignment and the information about how your story will be scored, then begin your work. Your assignment. Your class is creating a class book about people and animals helping each other. So that's what you guys are talking about. I'm going to go to markup, freehand highlighter. So you're talking about how people and animals help each other. Your assignment is to write a story for the book about how you might help an animal or how an animal might help you. So this is your assignment. Your assignment is to write a story about how you might help an animal or how an animal might help you. So you need to just do one or the other. If you want to talk about both, you are more than welcome to. Your story will be read by other students who read the class book, and that's not going to be true. So you can cross that out. I will be reading it, but not other teachers or students. Using information from the 2 service sources, service dogs and helping each other, write a story about how you might help an animal or how an animal might help you. And we just talked about that. So I'm going to just put a star because it tells you what your directions are again. It must be several paragraphs long. Now, this is important. A lot of you guys are only working on 1 paragraph. So if you only turn in 1 paragraph, that's okay. However, in order for you to get the best score possible, we are asking for it to be several paragraphs long, okay? So I know that might be a little bit difficult since we're still working on one paragraph. So for those of you guys who only can do one paragraph, that's totally fine. You can go ahead and turn it in like that. And then what we'll do is over the year, we'll try and get better at it so that you're more comfortable writing several paragraphs. So by the end of second grade, you guys are very comfortable with writing multiple paragraphs. Okay. The story will let students in your class know how people and animals can help each other. Include information from both sources. You're going to underline that. All right. I'm going to underline it in this like red color. Include information from both sources using your own words. So you can't just copy what the source says. So you can't just go to, let me 1 second, guys. You guys can't just go to this and then just start writing all of this down. You have to be able to take certain words and then put them in your own words. So let's say you want to say something like, service dogs need teachers just like people do. Instead of saying that, you might, putting it in your own words, you might talk about one way that we can, the way that service dogs learn how to help people is they are taught by teachers. They have people who train them at a very young age so that they learn all of the different tricks and rules to how to obey and help people in the world. So that's how you guys can change it. You're saying the same thing, but you're saying it in your own way. You're not just copying exactly what they write. And we'll get better at it as we continue on in the year. Be sure to write who the story is about. So this is a narrative, so you need characters. Who the story is about, that is what we call characters. What I want you guys to do is click on your text box, or if you're writing it, that's going to be your characters. You need to have characters. Where story takes place is going to be your setting, and what happens is going to be your events. So let's go ahead and underline who the story is about, where your story takes place, and what happens. You need to have all three of these things in order to get at least, the basic amount of points that you need for this. If you're missing your characters, who it's about, if you're missing the setting, where it's taking place, or if you're missing the events, like what's happening in the story, then you're not going to do as well. The last thing is, remember, a well-written story is going to be well organized. It needs to stay on topic. You need to have an introduction and a conclusion. You need to have a beginning of the story and how it ends. You need to use the details from the sources. Do not forget to do that. You need to talk about something about service dogs or about adopting animals or teaching people. You need to develop your ideas fully. You need to use clear language, and then you need to follow the rules of writing, which means that you need to spell things correctly, use correct punctuation, and use correct grammar. For spelling, a lot of the words that you might be using, for example, like if you want to know how to spell service dogs, if you need to know how to spell out danger, if you need to know how to spell out adopt, a lot of those words you can find in your story. So there's no reason why you should be getting those words wrong. All right. The last thing, manage your time carefully so that you can plan, write, revise, and edit your story, write your response on a separate sheet of paper. I would like you guys to do that and then transfer that into Connect Ed, because you guys are going to be typing it and submitting it that way. So what you can do after this class, after I go over a sample, is you guys can actually get a piece of paper and start writing it out. And then tomorrow in class, you're going to actually be typing it on your computer in Connect Ed under To Do My Tests. All right, now this is a sample of what a response could be. Now, clearly there are lots and lots of paragraphs, and many of you are not ready for that, and that's okay. So we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs. So you guys do not need to do 6 paragraphs, not at all. This is just a sample. I just want to give you guys an idea of what a narrative is. And what I want you guys to do is think about this and then see if you guys can write something that is comfortable for you. All right, so I'm going to read through it, and then we're going to talk about the different elements in this sample. Okay. My father told me that I do not spend enough time outside. He told me to think about something that I would like to do outdoors. I thought about soccer or basketball. I thought I could have fun playing either one, but I couldn't decide which to try. Then one day on my way home from school, I walked past the animal shelter. At the animal shelter, dogs and cats wait for people to adopt them and take them home. When I walked by, I saw boys and girls walking dogs on leashes. It looked like fun. Suddenly, I could not wait to get home and talk to my dad. I wanted to tell him that I had found something to do outdoors. When I got home, my dad asked if I had picked soccer or basketball. Neither, I said. I found something even better. I explained that I wanted to help out at the animal shelter by walking dogs. My dad loved the idea. He wanted to help out too. Later, we went to the shelter to sign up. A nice man told us that they needed more help on Wednesday afternoons. We signed up. Each Wednesday, we walked over to the shelter together. We clipped leashes onto the collars of the dogs we were going to walk. Some dogs got so excited they started barking and hopping around. We took them on long walks in the neighborhood. I got to know all the different dogs in the shelter. I liked them all, but my favorite was Tramp, a fuzzy little dog with white fur. He liked sniffing new things on our walks. I wished that I could take him home with me. One day after school, my dad asked me, "Are you ready for a walk?" I was confused because it was Thursday. My dad handed me a brand new leash. I had no idea what was going on. Just then, Tramp ran into the room and stopped right in front of me. I gasped in surprise. I bent down to pet him and I saw that he had a new collar. Hanging from it was a shiny dog tag that said Tramp and our phone number. Now I walk every day. On Wednesdays, I walk the dogs at the animal shelter. On the other days, I walk with Tramp. He is my best friend. So this is a sample of what you could have done if it was several paragraphs long. Okay. I am only asking you guys to maybe do like 2 paragraphs. All right. So let's think about what were some of the things that you guys needed to have. So I'm going to new share. So here was your assignment, right? You're writing a story about how you might help an animal or how an animal might help you. So in the story that we just read, we are helping an animal. So we're talking as if that is us. And in this story, you know, we're always spending time indoors. Maybe we're playing too many video games. We're on YouTube too much, watching like silly videos. And so, you know, your parents want you to, you know, go outside and exercise or do something fun. And then, you know, you find out that there's an animal shelter. And so you decide to go help out at the animal shelter. The way that you help out is by walking the dogs. All of these animals that are at the animal shelter, they need to be adopted. But in the meantime, they're all in these like cages where, you know, they eat and they sleep, but there's not a lot of room for them to exercise. So that's why they have volunteers who come to the animal shelters and help exercise a lot of these dogs so that they're able to still exercise and stay healthy until they can find, you know, their new homes. So we wrote a story here about how we might help animals, okay? And then also in this story, we also learn how animals help us too. So this person, they were not going outside, they weren't exercising, they weren't spending more time outdoors. And because of animals, they started playing outside more, and they even adopted a dog, and they walk their dog every day. So that made them, you know, feel healthier. And when you exercise, you are healthier. So that means you're happier. So lots of great things happen when you spend time outdoors and when you exercise. Let's keep going to see what else is we have. Okay. They definitely did several paragraphs. Did they have who the story was about, where your story takes place, and what happens? Let's see. Did we have characters? Yes. The characters was the dad, the child. It happened at school, and at home, and then at a dog shelter. And then there's events. At first, the kid wasn't spending enough time outside. Then they started volunteering at an animal shelter. Then they adopted a dog and spent every day outside. So lots of great characters, settings, and events. Now, a key thing that we highlighted or underlined in red was include information from both sources using your own words. So let's go back to see if we used both sources. So the first one was about service dogs and how they help people. They can warn people who hears hot sirens. They can help people walk. Ooh, well, in this story, we learned that technically these dogs helped this kid walk more outside, because before they were spending too much time indoors. And so now that they're walking these dogs, they're helping them walk more outdoors, which is what the father wanted. What else do we have? Dogs, let's see. Their owners love them and they love their owners. Ooh, it definitely sounds like in our story, the dog that they adopted was Tramp, and it sounded like Tramp really loved the kid, and it sounded like the kid really loved Tramp. So it does look like we did have some details from source number one. We didn't necessarily learn about service dogs particularly in this story that we read or in the answer that we read for a narrative writing test, but it does talk about how animals love their owners and their owners love their animals. It also talks about help the dogs helping people walk outside more. They become part of their owners' families. We learned all about that. Now in source number two, what did we see? We did learn about adoption. We learned about how Eve adopted a dog named Shauna. And then we learned about how Eve was helped by the animal. For Eve, she was helped by the animal because she was stuck in a storm. And then in the story that we read, the kid was helped by the animal because that animal helped him play outside more. And then we had an introduction, so the beginning of the story where the kid doesn't want to be outside. And then the conclusion of the story was now all of a sudden, now every day he's outside walking his own dog, Tramp, and he's also walking the dogs at the animal shelter. And then they also did a lot of good spelling, punctuation, and grammar. Now, obviously, this is a very long 6 paragraphs, so you guys don't need to do that. So for tomorrow, if you wanted, you could do something short. So I'll give you guys another sample that's going to be shorter. And I'm just going to vocally say it. All right. So we could say, we can start a story and maybe we'll have some characters, and maybe we'll have a character who has a hard time with hearing. Okay. So let's start our story. So one day there was a little boy named Billy. Billy had a hard time hearing things. So his parents decided to get him a service dog. So now we have a few sentences. The service dogs helped Billy get to school safely. One time, Billy was trying to cross the street, but there was a big truck coming, and the truck was honking at Billy to not cross the street, but Billy couldn't hear it. So Billy's service dog, and his name could be Kovu, helped Billy stay on the sidewalk until the big truck went by. So already in that first paragraph, we learned about Billy. We learned about how Billy isn't able to hear things very well. So his family got him a service dog who's helping him stay safe. Okay, now let's use some samples from, so that's going to be my first paragraph. Okay, my second paragraph, I'm still going to have the same characters. I might have the same setting where we're at the school. Billy's trying to get to school, but what we're going to do is now we're going to use some evidence, some text evidence from source number 2. So let's see, what are some things that we have here? Service animals help people stay safe and get around. Okay, we talked about that. House pets can help people from feeling lonely. Ooh, well, service dog can be a house pet. So let's do that for source number 2. Okay. So I'm sorry, for paragraph number 2. So in our first paragraph, we learned about Billy and how he has a hearing problem and how his family got him a service dog named Kofu. Okay. So this is my next paragraph. All right. When Billy got home from school, all of the internet was out, so he wasn't able to play games with his friends online. They weren't able to play Among Us or Roblox. At first, Billy was feeling very lonely, but he remembered he had Kovu. He brought Kovu upstairs into his room, and Kovu played catch with him and also cuddled him when he went to bed. Kovu helped Billy feel less lonely, and they had a great night together. So right there, I just only made 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph, I talked about how Kovu is a service dog. I talked about how Billy has a hearing problem, and so he needs Kovu to walk safely around the neighborhood to get to school. And then in my second paragraph, I talk about how when Billy got home, he's not able to play Roblox with his friends. And instead of feeling lonely, Billy plays and spends time with his service dog, Kovu, and he doesn't feel as lonely anymore. Now, you don't have to, so that was it. If you write something like that, you're still going to get the full score. You're going to get full points. You don't need to write about every single detail. I just want you guys to write at least something from here. So something about an animal and how they're true loving friends, or how they work hard for you, or how they keep us from being hurt, or how they keep us safe, or how they become part of their families. Or you could talk about how they help keep us from feeling lonely, how they help find lost people or sniff out danger, how we can maybe not just the animals, but how we can help them, how we can help animals when they're hurt or if they need homes, how we can adopt animals, how we can teach others to help animals. So there's lots of different examples that you guys can choose to write about in your own story. So as long as you guys write a story about how you might help an animal or how an animal might help you, as long as you try and write at least 1 or 2 paragraphs, you definitely have to write 1 paragraph, but try and do 2 if you can. If you guys want to do more, like the one that I showed you guys earlier, you're more than welcome to. Making sure that you guys include information from both sources, which we just talked about. And then you need to have your character, who the story is about, your setting, where your story takes place, and your events, what happens in the story. You need to have an introduction, the beginning of the story, your conclusion, the end of the story, and then you need to make sure you go back and check your spelling, your punctuation, and your grammar are all correct. All right. So if you guys have time today, I recommend writing it on a separate sheet of paper. And then tomorrow in class, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be transferring that online. You guys are going to type it out, and then you guys are going to send it to me in Connected. All right.